Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, help us out and click subscribe to show your support. And if you haven't done so already, enable notifications on YouTube so you get all of our newest episodes immediately as soon as we put them up on the server. While you're at it, if you're sick and tired of spending $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game, stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create your wrestler, sign contracts, get involved in storylines, headline pay-per-views, even build your own corporation, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users, totally free. If you are all in September 1st, then make sure you got your all-in merchandise. Go to frowrestling.com and scroll to the center of the page for the all-in merchandise link. Check it out today. If you are in the Quakertown area, June 23rd, the Quakertown Farmers Market has WWA, and they will have a main event of a Lego death match between Ken Andrews and Wyndham James Winthrop III for the WWA World Championship. Check that out, June 23rd. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. Get there if you can. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shoutouts like our buddy Harold in St. Louis, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast and sign up today. Our loyalty rewards program is in play. Any $25 contributor can co-host an episode of Going Live with me, and our $10 a month contributors will get entered into a drawing for one winner to also co-host an episode of Going Live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this live episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. We are jam-packed with things to talk about. If you can't tell from the tone of my voice, I'm on an emotional high after watching that incredibly awesome NXT Takeover show. Oh my goodness. We're going to get to that in a few minutes. Don't forget, if you have not voted already in the Dream Match tournament, the Elite 8 round, I had a few people who were out of town ask me to extend the deadline. Tonight, I will be shutting that down at midnight. So if you haven't voted yet, go to frowrestling.com, click on the fan vote, and cast your votes in the Elite 8 round of our greatest Dream Matches of all time tournament. So, if you have questions or comments while we're in this episode, you can either call the sound off line if you want them addressed in a future episode, 267-642-1160, or if you're using one of the chat feature enabled streaming services, whether that's iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, one of those, feel free to put comments on the screen. I will get to them as soon as I possibly can. It is going to be an incredible night. There's a lot to talk about. I see John the Sports Guy is already tuning in. He is in Alpine, Texas, formerly Hatfield, Pennsylvania. John, how you doing, John? Great to see you're in with us tonight. And there is so much to talk about. So, if you are new to the Pro Wrestling Podcast and you want to know what we're going to cover in an episode, go to our homepage at frowrestling.com, preview the topics, come up with your questions so we can get you into the shows, and don't forget to send me your name so I can give you credit for anything that you bring to the show. Wow, NXT Takeover has just ended. What an incredible, incredible show. That was lights out. Here is the problem that is starting to happen as a wrestling fan for me. WWE's NXT program is blowing away the main roster. That show was lights out. That was exciting. I enjoyed it. For those who did not tune in, I don't want to ruin anything, but it was amazing. You have to check it out. If you are a network subscriber, get on there, check it out, watch these matches. There was not one match that was a letdown tonight. Everything delivered. And I'm going to get into each one of the matches as I can. As you can't tell, my energy is like super high. I'm so thrilled that Triple H, I can't believe I'm going to say this, Triple H is running NXT in a manner that is going to make NXT the program to beat. Not Raw, not SmackDown, but we're talking about NXT. They have done something that nobody else has done. They've taken all these independent wrestlers from everywhere around the world, including Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling and New Japan and Lucha Underground and all these different places, and they brought them into one location, and they have finally given us something that we really can care about and want to watch. We really do. And now the problem I see is that they're going to be putting pressure on the main roster. So now what do you do if you're WWE? If you're running Raw or SmackDown, this is almost in a way like WCW territory, where they had a rival program that was so good they had to get better. The difference with this is that if you think that this NXT success is going to drive Raw and SmackDown to change, it may actually backfire. And the way I see that happening is if Vince McMahon looks at this and says, hey, listen, guys, you're putting the pressure on our main programs. We just signed billion-dollar deals. We can't be doing this, having this second program or third program on a network of our own challenging our main promotion. And that's where we're at. So let's talk TakeOver. Look, when you have a show that starts out with the Undisputed Era taking on, a great tag team and putting on a clinic, I think when the Undisputed Era came to WWE from Ring of Honor, people just expected this same old Red Dragon, Adam Cole matches. They have brought it up a level that they never were doing in Ring of Honor. Don't get me wrong, their matches in Ring of Honor are classic, all of them. But WWE, this is what people don't sometimes understand about WWE's Performance Center. When you were in NXT, when you were training down there, you bring all of your experience you had somewhere else, you put it under a microscope, and people perfect even the minor imperfections in what you do. There is never anything wrong with Red Dragon or with Adam Cole. Never. They're fantastic. All right? Never any issues with any of the talents that have come from Ring of Honor. WWE has just made their amazing talent even more amazing. Tag Team Championship match tonight, amazing match. The tag team champions retain. Look, if you're listening to my show, you probably watch TakeOver anyways. I'm not ruining anything for you, but watch the match. Insane, great match. Got to check it out. The Velveteen Dream Ricochet match. I'm going to be honest with you. When the match got started, I was bored out of my gourd. I felt like, with the injury to Ricochet that people were talking about this week, that there was going to somehow impact his ability to perform. And at the beginning of the match, I felt that way. It seemed like his flips and his kicks and all his special moves were just a little slower than they usually are. And then come to find out, he had it in him the whole time. He really turned it on, as did Velveteen Dream. I actually love Velveteen Dream walking to the ring, parodying Hulk Hogan's entrance, doing everything from the hand motion to the ear, to the red and yellow outfit, to the flexing in the ring before the entrance for Ricochet. It was a great visual. It really was cool. I love the retrospective video package they played ahead of time, showing you Patrick's history and Ricochet. I love that scene where Ricochet dives and does the flip over the top rope and gets right in his face. They showed all those things leading up to the match. And of course, Ricochet hits his signature, double flip off the turnbuckle to win the match. Awesome match. And Velveteen Dream, that kid is so young. He has got such a bright future in front of him. And Ricochet, a legend already in many wrestling fans' minds, he is already starting to put together a great body of work in WWE. The women's championship match was solid. You got to see great physicality. Shayna Baszler is off the charts with her physicality. She makes every move, every hit, every strike seem so lethal. And I know that some of that is probably psychological. As a fan, you watch and she was a mixed martial artist, and you're used to people like Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley, and you look at someone else who came from the mixed martial arts world, and you automatically assume that their hits are going to be stiff and things like that. But she sells it. She makes you believe it. Makes you feel like, man, she's going to take someone's head off every time she hits them. And, Nikki Cross did solid tonight. I did not expect Nikki Cross to take the championship tonight anyways. I think that was just a filler program till they could figure out something better to do. We're coming up on the Mae Young Classic. The winner will clearly challenge Baszler, and I believe that whoever that winner is will probably be the one who unseats her as the champion. The only thing I think they could throw that off is if they get lucky enough to land a major marquee free agent between now and then who can walk right in the door and become an instant challenger. Maybe that shifts their booking a little bit. Otherwise, solid match. Baszler wins. No surprise. The championship match for the NXT Championship, Aleister Black and Lars Sullivan. Very physical. I think towards the end of the match, Black hits the running knee to the face on Sullivan, and I think he really busted him up real good. Legit. It wasn't a work. Instantly bleeding from the mouth. It looked great. And to Lars Sullivan's credit, he's such a unique looking guy. He really does sell like that old school, almost like Cesaro used to have that reputation for looking like a traditional bruiser. That's exactly what Sullivan is, and he did well with that tonight. Again, did not expect him to defeat Aleister Black for the title. He did not. Aleister Black retains. Great ending sequence with all the kicks to the face and pinning him, and him literally, Sullivan being on his knees begging for him to keep going, and then he ends it, almost reminiscent of Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair to a degree. But great match. Aleister Black retains. But the reason I'm so hyped tonight is watching that Johnny Gargano-Tommaso Ciampa match that put the whole wrestling world on notice. Those two guys can go. And tonight, for those who didn't see it, gosh, I don't really want to ruin anything. If you're listening to this podcast, you need to watch these things live. So if I'm ruining it for you, it's your fault, not mine. Diehard wrestling fans watch these shows as they happen. All those people out there who have the network are like, I can watch it at my leisure. Tough. Then don't tune in until after you see it, because that's a big show, and that was an incredible match. The end of the match, seeing all the physicality, being on an elevated platform, Gargano taking Ciampa and jumping off through a table, hitting, it almost looked like Sheamus's finishing hold, and then laying on the ground, getting put on the stretcher, putting the neck brace on. If you're a diehard wrestling fan, you know that when Gargano was in the neck brace, they would have to do something with the neck brace with Ciampa. They did that. Gargano sitting there looking upset and distraught, looking at his finger, seeing the missing wedding ring, and then getting down and beating the tar out of Tommaso Ciampa on the stretcher, throwing him in the ring, making him tap repeatedly, despite the fact there's no referee in the ring. Having people come into the ring and pull him off the guy. This is one of the things I have a problem with WWE's booking. Like, once you have people separating the wrestlers, indicating you don't want them to continue fighting, it should be the end of the match. But it's not, because it's all kayfabe. We got to keep with the storyline. Got to do what they think is the right move. Everybody in that arena wanted to see Johnny Gargano win this match. And so he's beating him down, chair shots, multiple super kicks to the face, puts him in his submission hold. I mean, it was clear this was over. Then he goes running back to the ring, and somehow, after taking all those super kicks and everything else, Ciampa's able to kick him, grab him, put him into a DDT onto exposed wood planks that make up the ring's undersurface, and pin him. One DDT, and he pins him. I have a problem with the booking of the ending of the match. The fans, you could see, they were just... You sucked all the air out of the arena. They were shocked after everything that Gargano had done, that Ciampa walks out with as the victor. Absolutely brutal, insane match. You have to watch it. Perfect blow-off to end this feud. Now, the only question that remains now is, what do you do with these two guys? Obviously, if you're me, Ciampa gets a shot at Aleister Black. That's where I go with Ciampa. Gargano's the more complicated one. Now that this feud is over, where does he go? Ricochet and Velveteen Dream's feud obviously will continue a little longer. I don't think you can wrap that up that fast. So there's no match there with Dream. Lars Sullivan's not a good fit. EC3 maybe. But what are you going to do with that? Are you going to use him to elevate EC3, or are you going to squash EC3, who hasn't really had a push yet? Like, I don't see what you do with Gargano unless you're bringing him to the main roster. There's been theories for months that there's going to be another roster shakeup sometime in the fall. Maybe that's where you go with it. But at this point, I really don't know what you do, and you can't keep following up these incredible matches with these two with yet another and another and another. It's going to become too repetitive. But at the end of the night, NXT TakeOver. Look, I'm going to be Dave Meltzer for a few seconds with the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and I'm going to give that match 6 stars, okay? That is a match that is on par with the types of stuff that you see from Okada and Kenny Omega. And yes, I do know that they gave a 7-star rating to Omega and Okada this past week. I don't know how I feel about that, but we'll get to that a little later. So that's NXT TakeOver's results. I don't know how you guys feel, but if you haven't noticed, I have put Facebook comment tabs on some of the stuff on the website. By all means, give me comments there. Give me comments in YouTube. I need to hear from you guys. You guys are what makes this podcast run. So give me some comments. Give me some feedback. Okay? Let's move on. WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling cross-promotional opportunities. Triple H made it clear that he is open to do business whenever the right situation presents itself. He had an interview this week. That was essentially the essence of his statement. That is not closing the door on a partnership with New Japan Pro Wrestling. The wrestling world is dying to see certain matches. Whenever I'm asked about this, I use the exact same example. Seth Rollins versus Kazuchika Okada. That's what I want to see. I want to see it in a major high-profile match. WrestleMania, it would be nice. I don't see that ever happening. But at a different show, a different pay-per-view, a one-off appearance, or maybe some co-branded thing, maybe WWE and Triple H have been smart enough to sit back and see the successes of Ring of Honor and New Japan co-promoting, or Chris Jericho promoting his cruise with Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling, or Impact Wrestling and Lucha Underground getting together, or God forbid, all of them getting together. Because WWE, at this point, their product has become stale. And what maybe they're finally realizing is, if you co-promote with these other companies, yes, you're making their product look better. Of course you are. You're still the top dog. They could gain 1 million viewers a week and still be 1/3 your audience. So that's not the issue. What WWE may not realize is by investing in a cross-promotional opportunity with New Japan Pro Wrestling, you give exposure to future WWE talent. That's why you do it. You make a deal with Ring of Honor. You make a deal with Impact Wrestling. You make a deal with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Make one with Lucha Underground or any other company you could think of. I know they have deals in place with places like Evolve, where we've seen Evolve championships defended at WrestleMania Access, where WWE champions have defended or going to defend their championships at Evolve shows. And I'm cool with that. Progress Wrestling, ICW, sending their talents to the WWE United Kingdom tournaments. WXW contributing talent to that tournament. Those things are great, but we're talking about New Japan and WWE, the two biggest in the world. I'm sure that the Chris Jericho influence is a huge part of this. But it's time. It's time for WWE, and thankfully Triple H is already starting to look beyond just their own roster. And coming this week to Infro's Corner, my blog that is at our webpage, frowrestling.com. Click the top tab that says Infro's Corner. You can get all of our editorial pieces, and I am wrapping up one this week on this opportunity for WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling to cross-promote talent and shows. It is something that really in 2018 needs to happen. And it may not happen this year, but it needs to happen soon because the fans want to see this. And we want to see this because we saw a little taste of it this week. This week on Thursday, we got to see Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks take on The New Day. It was at E3, it was in a Street Fighter V competition, and I get it, it's not in a wrestling ring, but the reaction from the fans is organic. It's something WWE has a really tough time understanding, is organic response. We have mainstream fans. I was talking about this last episode. The mainstream fans are going to tune in every Monday night and every Tuesday, or in the future on Friday nights when they go back to the other channel. But mainstream fans are just going to tune in. That's, 2 million of your fans. The rest of them are diehards who are going to want to see something special. And they're the ones who, when it used to be getting 4, 5, or 6 million viewers, and now you're down to 2.5 million viewers for Raw, the reason that is, nothing is fresh anymore. Nothing is organic. Nothing is new. Everything is done 300 times before it gets to pay-per-view. And by the time you get to pay-per-view, nobody cares anymore. That's part of the problem with WWE's product. This was a Street Fighter V competition, and it got mainstream attention. WWE.com acknowledged Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks challenging the New Day. In addition, WWE.com put up a Hidden Gems video of Kenny Omega from his HVW, what was it? Heartland Valley Wrestling, whatever it was, HWA. Heartland Wrestling Association, I can't even remember what it's called. No, DSW, that's what it was. But either way, they put up a Kenny Omega match from when he was in WWE developmental, because that's how much they're acknowledging Kenny Omega. And maybe a piece of this is because WWE wants to sign Kenny Omega at the end of this year when his contract is up with New Japan, and maybe they want to sign the Young Bucks because their contracts are up in December. Now, I know they've all said that they're not interested in coming, but money talks. And I know they all brag about how much money they make on the indie scene and they make in Ring of Honor and New Japan and all these other places. But the reality is this. No one had... The Jacksons are very honest in the Young Bucks when they spoke about this once before. There is an amount of money it would take. They don't believe WWE would ever make that money offer. Well, maybe it's time to not put a label on what WWE will and won't do. Make the number happen. Tell WWE what that number is. Listen, you want us? You got us. You just got to pay this much per person. Make it black and white. We are more than willing to come work for your company. We will bring ratings. We need a couple things. One, we need this much money. And two, we need a little bit of security. That one, our gimmick isn't going to be taken from us. And two, we get a little bit of creativity in our matches. Because let's face it, the Young Bucks do some of the most innovative stuff in the world. Kenny Omega, same deal. I would love to see Omega come into a WWE ring and face AJ Styles for the World Championship. Or face Daniel Bryan. Or face Seth Rollins. Or face, Lord, who cares? I don't care who. Drew McIntyre, for God's sake. But it can't happen unless WWE makes the right offer. And it's time. And all signs indicate that WWE is now interested in Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Somebody they're not interested in right now is Brock Lesnar. Heading into SummerSlam, we've got issues with Brock Lesnar. It sounds as though Vince McMahon has not signed off on Brock Lesnar headlining SummerSlam. As of right now, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, there was a plan in place where everybody was under the assumption that Seth Rollins was going to be built to take on Lesnar at SummerSlam and be the one to dethrone him for the championship. And all the fans are on board with that. We all want Seth Rollins to be the one to take the title. Then news broke early last week that they were still thinking about putting Roman Reigns out there again against Brock Lesnar. And run through this with me. Brock Lesnar defends his championship against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and Reigns loses. Then he defends it against him at the Greatest Royal Rumble, and he loses. Now he's going to defend it at SummerSlam, and he'll win, and Brock Lesnar will never get a rematch. What is that? Goldberg never got a rematch. That doesn't even make sense. The only place in the world where those types of things make sense is New Japan, and that's because they've had a long-standing history of their champion finishes a match and then he calls out his next opponent. They're the only promotion in the world that makes that happen. In traditional American-style wrestling, in American sports entertainment WWE, you always get a rematch. It's ridiculous to book Lesnar to lose and not get a rematch. If I'm WWE and you have a problem with Brock Lesnar being your champion and you don't want him to headline SummerSlam, you get that belt off him. You book him for a Raw. You get him to Raw, and you have him lose the championship at Raw. Have the rematch come at Extreme Rules or whatever pay-per-view you have between now and SummerSlam, and have him lose the rematch. Then you've got a Universal Champion, Roman Reigns, unfortunately. Sorry, people, that's what it sounds like they're going to do. You have Roman Reigns there as the Universal Champion, and give him a different opponent. Build up Sami Zayn. Have Sami Zayn beat Bobby Lashley, for all I care. If Brock Lesnar's gone, I don't know why you even have Bobby Lashley. You brought Bobby Lashley in to give a dream match to everybody that's not even going to happen now because you don't want Brock Lesnar anymore. That's a problem. So, I don't know what they're going to do. I would love to be inside the head of the creative geniuses who come up with this nonsense. I don't know what Vince McMahon is thinking. No one wants Roman Reigns, and to be perfectly honest with you, this may sound strange. I've seen all the hate online for Lesnar. How many people are like, let him go, get him out of here. We don't want him, this and that. But I almost think people would be happier seeing Lesnar beat Reigns again than give the title to a guy that we've been begging not to get the title for 2 years. At this point, it's like you're giving a big, flipping the bird to the fans saying, you're going to take this champion and you're going to like it. And no, we're not. Has Roman Reigns been booked a little better recently? Yeah. You know how you book him really good? Have him lose at Money in the Bank. That's what you do if you really want to help Roman Reigns' character. Have him lose at Money in the Bank to Jinder Mahal. Now, I don't see that happening, but we'll see. We'll get to the predictions of Money in the Bank a little bit later. But they got to do something. And something they're talking about doing, we actually saw another interview with Triple H this week, is talking about expanding and getting a new WWE Performance Center in another location. I don't know that WWE wants to invest the money right now, but I think it could only be a good thing. They have so much talent right now. If you set up another performance center, high tech, just like this one. For those who don't remember, WWE's Performance Center right now literally has cameras everywhere that live stream directly to Stamford, so Vince can tune in at any time, and anybody in the booking team can tune in at any time and take a look at what's going on at the Performance Center and get an idea what's going on with their different talents. That's awesome. It's state-of-the-art workout system. They've got all these rings for you to work on. They've got interview segments. They've got finishing classes and all these other things. Creating another one only seems to make sense. Now, they've talked about doing it overseas, in the Middle East, something in Europe, something in South America, something in Asia, but this is inside the United States, another performance center. I think would only be good for business. I don't know if it would be best for business, but it would definitely be good for business. Rumors, speaking of Money in the Bank, there's rumors swirling that we may be seeing the return of another former WWE star. The conversation was that James Ellsworth was going to get involved in some way in the women's Money in the Bank match. And now the concern is he was booked for a promotion overseas in Asia. And now all of a sudden that Asian company is saying he's not going to appear. He can't make the flight. Well, I wonder why. This is the problem. You can't let things like this out. Because it's 2018, we all have social media. Everybody in the world now expects James Ellsworth to show up at Money in the Bank and get involved in the women's ladder match. And why not? Or at least get involved in the women's championship match. Probably go out there and cost Asuka the championship. In all honesty, if I was WWE, I would let Carmella keep the championship and have whoever wins cash in that night. Having Carmella carry a briefcase around for 9 months last year was completely foolish. Use the thing right away. Just get it off. Whoever wins it that night, have them cash it in immediately and win the women's championship from Carmella. She's not a great champion to begin with. Yes, she's popular. The rumor is she's easy to work with in the back, but what she is not is a ring technician. It's like putting the championship on Lana. It should never happen. Who, by the way, Lana is working out with Brie Bella and Daniel Bryan in preparation for the women's Money in the Bank match. That was not on ProWrestling.com as a topic for tonight, but that I find fascinating, that Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella are working so hard with Lana, trying to get her ready for this incredible match. Good for Lana. She's trying to work on her craft. Everybody thought she was just going to be one of these people who was a figurehead on the side and was never going to be committed to the business. This clearly indicates that she is definitely committed to her position and she wants to get better, and that's a great thing to see. And I hope that helps not only her, but also Rusev, who has not gotten a fair shake in years. You go from being, undefeated for like a huge extended period of time, losing to John Cena at WrestleMania, and then you just get squashed from there on out. Yes, he had a few wins here and there. Nothing of importance. Winning over Samoa Joe last week on SmackDown was probably the most important win he's had in 2 years. So it'd be nice to see him get a push. But I digress. Back to the topics at hand. Update on Chris Jericho in New Japan Pro Wrestling. The word is out that Chris Jericho is taking that IWGP Intercontinental Championship that he just won from Tetsuya Naito, and he's taking it with him when he's going on the road with Fozzy. He'll be touring with Fozzy all the way through August, so we're not going to see the IWGP Intercontinental Championship defended at the Cow Palace show unless he's screwing with us. He claims he's got tons of loyalty to Vince McMahon. If that's true, he will not be at the Cow Palace show, and I would respect that if he was not. However, it means that New Japan has a problem. They're not going to see one of their top-tier championships until probably September or October. More likely October. Now, if you subscribed, or I shouldn't say subscribe, if you paid attention to Infro's Corner, I gave my booking of how to book the Intercontinental Championship. I think he has to defeat Naito in a rematch. I would have had that happen at the Cow Palace. But if you won't wrestle at the Cow Palace, do it at a show in Japan. Just have him come in, work the match, defeat Naito, and keep the title. That way, that program is closed. And he can move on to the rest of the way I booked it, so we can eventually end up with him going against Kazuchika Okada. That's what I want to see Jericho do. And we can see Kenny Omega versus Naito. If you haven't checked out that article, check it out. Infro's Corner. Absolutely loved writing that one. And thankfully, so far, they've listened to almost everything I've asked them to book. But yeah, Chris Jericho not going to be at New Japan for a couple months. It's kind of a strange thing to give him the championship and then not have him on any shows. But I'm not New Japan, and maybe they just see the dollar signs from having him be there, because he is a huge draw, mainstream attraction, bringing new visitors' faces to New Japan World, which subscriptions went up 250%, according to Chris Jericho, in an interview he did. Charlotte going to be going away after Money in the Bank. I don't think she has any chance to win Money in the Bank because she's going away for surgery, but she should be back in time for SummerSlam. And the word is right now she's going in because she has a ruptured breast implant from before WrestleMania, and she's been waiting all this time to get it dealt with, and now it's time. So she's going to get things done, and she'll be out for about 4 to 6 weeks. That puts her back in plenty of time to get ready for a SummerSlam program. But in the meantime, you got to write her off television or just keep her in speaking segments. Not sure how that's going to work. And I don't know who you have on the roster. Maybe that's why they gave Becky Lynch the submission victory over Charlotte a couple weeks ago. So she's strong enough as a competitor to fill the void while Charlotte's away. Don't know. But we'll have to wait and see. Eli Drake's Impact Wrestling future, that is a hot topic of discussion. WWE is clearly interested in bringing him back to their company. He had a developmental deal back in 2014. Didn't work out. They let him go. He went to Impact Wrestling. He's done very well for himself there. And while he's been there, he's been world champion. He's been that Impact Grand Champion. Like, he's held and the tag team champion. He's held pretty much everything there is to hold there, exception of the X Division title, which I always thought was weird when bigger guys win the X Division title, but whatever. The situation is his contract ran out. So apparently he has signed a short-term extension through July. And at which point they're going to try to work out something else for the future. But I think he's coming to terms with the fact that WWE is interested, and he may be passing on a huge payday re-signing with Impact Wrestling. They've again had trouble paying talent from time to time. My understanding is they're under control now, but there was talks back in March that they were having some issues paying talent. Hopefully that's not the case, but and I have no way to know for sure. That's just a rumor. But the reality is maybe that's influencing his decision. Maybe this is a thing where he's like, I need to go to a place where I know I'm going to get paid. I can count on paying my bills every month. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally off on that. So I'm not knocking the Impact Wrestling. I'm just saying what's out there in the rumor mill. Will WWE's television deal hurt the industry? Eric Bischoff had comments this week stating that he feels that it can and will, in that because they are booked on two different networks that are competing with each other for television ratings, what is going to happen when you want to move a star from Raw to SmackDown or SmackDown to Raw? Neither network is going to give up a major star. So it's going to create somewhat of a conflict of interest. And at the same time, if you're another corporation, you got to try to find programming on a channel that's not owned by the two biggest media conglomerates in the country. So where do you put your show? You're going to keep it on Access Television? No offense to Access Television, but it doesn't have the biggest distribution in the world. How is New Japan Pro Wrestling supposed to expand if they're always on a network that doesn't get enough viewers? You know what I'm saying? Your program's got to be visible. And right now it's not. Not unless you absolutely already know where to find it. So this television deal does have the potential to hurt some things in the industry in general, especially if you're a young company like an MLW. I shouldn't say young as far as years, but young in the production business as far as being on a major television deal. It used to be TNT wanted to bring in wrestling. They stopped years ago. Maybe you go make an overture to them. I don't know. I really don't know where you book more wrestling programming in a time when it's a boom for indie wrestling. A lot of these independent companies need to start trying to get a TV deal in place, and now WWE sucks up two of the biggest networks in the world. Just saying, a little strange. 205 Live, I have to put this out there. I've been getting questions about 205 Live. I don't talk a lot about 205 Live, and the reason I don't talk about it is because I don't watch it. You know why? Because I don't feel like getting done SmackDown and turning on my computer and watching a show, or turning on my Amazon Fire Stick and watching a show. By the way, I don't want to forget, if you want to put questions, comments into the chat function, do so. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget, if you have questions for a future episode, 267-642-1160 is the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line. Don't forget to send those questions and put your name in there so I can give you the shout out for your comments. I wanted to throw that out there because I don't plug that enough. I need you guys calling me, give me questions. But 205 Live, I feel like, is purgatory for smaller wrestlers. You got a lot of talent on that roster. You got a lot of people who in the independent scene have done very well for themselves. They come to WWE and they get neutered. They're not allowed to showcase all that high-flying craziness that they were popular for in the indies. And that's a problem, because WWE could have a product that people want to see, but they screw it up because they don't give it the proper attention that it needs. And they kind of patchwork things together. Take a few UK guys or a couple of the NXT guys and throw them on there every now and again. Roderick Strong here and there. Or Leo Rush is supposedly making the move to 205 Live. Ricochet should be on there already. Then again, if you're saving him for a main roster debut to feud with Finn Balor, I'm okay with it. But I feel like 205 Live is a place where you send wrestlers who are super talented that you don't have a clue how to book them. So they get stuck there. Akira Tozawa and Hideo Itami and all these guys they're amazing. Tony Nese has been made to look like a complete bum. The guy looks like a smaller version of Elias. Heck, the two of them should make a tag team and run for the tag team championship on Raw instead of burying Tony Nese on 205 Live. It really is garbage television unless they start really giving it attention. Now, I will give him this. It has been significantly better since Triple H took over. Again, I'm giving Triple H credit. I hate it. But it's the truth. Triple H knows his stuff. He's doing very well. Hopefully they get the point and make 205 Live the must-see television that it easily has the talent to be able to do. One of the big topics this week, and I want to get to this, I wanted to get to this a little earlier, but WWE versus Madison Square Garden. So for those who don't know, WWE has been booking all their events around WrestleMania 35 time at the Barclays Center, which is near Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden has always been like the mecca for WWE shows. It's where they brag about Bruno selling out all those times, and it's where WrestleMania 1 and WrestleMania 10 and blah, blah, blah were held. And the reality is that WWE, I think, took for granted the relationship they have with Madison Square Garden. Look, MSG is in business to make money. If you're not going to bring shows there that are going to draw in the biggest crowds, you start to lose value. Well, now WWE is concerned because Ring of Honor booked a date with Madison Square Garden. They are doing everything in their power to block the booking, but it's not going to happen. Madison Square Garden, at least if MSG is anything remotely professional, they will not unbook Ring of Honor for their show. In addition, AAA has booked the venue. They're trying to stop that as well. You know, I don't know why WWE thinks they have the clout to do that when they have been neglecting Madison Square Garden for years. But we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. I would love to see All In 2 there next year. Even though Cody was joking about a city of rats and it'll never be here, I would love to see like Cody lose the control of the Bullet Club and then for kayfabe sense, have All In there when Kenny Omega leads the Bullet Club or something of that nature. I don't care how you book it, but MSG would be a great place to see the All In event. But if WWE keeps screwing with everybody who tries to book dates there, then we're not going to be able to see any of that. The Authors of Pain, we had the update this week that one of the reasons they've been held off television is they've been having visa issues. How the heck do you still keep having these things pop up if you're WWE? This has happened with multiple talents in the past. You need to have a department that strictly handles the visa issues, so this never happens. This is a great tag team brought to the main roster, never should have been separated from Paul Ellering. Should be. Now the rumor was that Sanity and the Authors of Pain were brought up to the main roster so they could be a part of a tag team Money in the Bank match, and that those plans fell through. I believe that because I think we saw vignettes for everybody wanting to do one of those. WWE needs to get their stuff straight. Once you pick something, once you air something on television, stick with it. If you have to change a card because a wrestler leaves the company or something like that, I get it. That's not the case here. They just totally changed course. They should have stuck with it. I want to get to the return of Lucha Underground. I'm going to tell you, I was watching the other night. I was absolutely blown away. I thought two things. One, I was thrilled to see them back on television. I thought they had a lot of great surprises. Tommy Dreamer showing up at Lucha Underground. Chavo Jr. was there for their Aztec Warfare match, which was pretty much the entire show. Pentagon Jr., Pentagon Dark, is the Lucha Underground champion. He retained his championship at that show. I thought on the flip side, oh, by the way, I was seeing Mr. Pectacular there. I actually found to be fascinating. Here's the part that I didn't like about Lucha Underground's return to television. You watch matches where guys like Johnny Mundo and Pentagon Dark and people like that last 25, 30 minutes in a one-on-one matchup. And in that 25, 30 minutes, you cannot pin your opponent because they're so tough. Then on the opening episode of Lucha Underground Season 4, you have a 20-man Aztec Warfare match, which is like a Royal Rumble, but with pinfall or submission eliminations. And you bring all these guys out, and they lose after like a body slam, or like an elbow, or something like that. There was like almost the only person who was hitting high impact moves was Pentagon Dark, and he hit the same move on every person that he defeated. You know, it was really ridiculous. Like he literally mowed through the entire roster. I don't know what that does for you future booking wise. I know they're trying to run the show like more of a soap opera, like comic booky kind of feel, but I thought it just had such a poor presentation. I was really disappointed. I thought they could have done so much more with it, have some more interesting eliminations. Johnny Mundo had a guy who looked like a clone of him out there. I thought that was ridiculous too. And I think the most ludicrous thing that they have done with Lucha Underground is they got rid of Cueto, the guy who was like the promoter or the whatever, the owner of the company, and they replaced him. You know, they had his character killed off at the end of last season, and then like his father takes over the company this season. But obviously the same guy wearing a horrible mustache and a horrible white wig. Look, I'm okay with theatrics, but this is like, God, it's worse than watching back in like the 80s and 90s. I used to watch like all these horrible B and C flicks on USA Network at like 2 a.m. That's how bad this is. It's probably worse than that. Worst impersonation stuff I've ever seen. So yes, I'm thrilled Lucha Underground is back. Yes, I'm thrilled to see certain talents in the ring there, but I'm absolutely floored that we got to see so much garbage pins, submissions, and whatnot in the Aztec Warfare match and everything else. So hopefully they get it better for the next showing, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I was thoroughly surprised. So our last topic for the night, we're going to get to our Money in the Bank predictions. In addition, I'm going to give you right now the odds for each match as I make the predictions. So Daniel Bryan will be taking on Big Cass. I actually thought that this would be where they would give Big Cass the win, but I think he's irritated so many people since he returned. The odds makers say Daniel Bryan is the minus 150 favorite versus Big Cass is plus 110 underdog. I'm going with the odds makers. Daniel Bryan defeats Big Cass. Seth Rollins takes on Elias for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Rollins is a minus 675 favorite to Elias's plus 425 underdog. My opinion here, if I was booking this, I would give the championship to Elias and push Seth Rollins into a program where he could challenge Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. However, I'm not booking this, and unfortunately, Vince McMahon has got just his heart set on Roman Reigns getting over, so that's not going to happen. So Seth Rollins, yes, he's going to win. He's going to retain the Intercontinental Championship because they got to put him into some other program instead of doing what the fans are begging for and allowing him to face Brock Lesnar. And the worst part of all this, Elias is over. He's great. This is what I was saying earlier about WWE is not good with organic response. The fans love Elias. Give them Elias. Give him the Intercontinental Championship. For Lord's sake, how many times do you have to bury this guy? Give him the championship. Let Seth Rollins move on to Brock Lesnar. Won't happen. Seth Rollins wins. Bobby Lashley versus Sami Zayn. This grudge match has Bobby Lashley as the minus 590 favorite to Sami Zayn's plus 390 underdog. For those who don't know what that means, it means you have to bet $590 to win $100 on Bobby Lashley. Or you could bet $100 and win $390 on Sami Zayn. This match, it couldn't be booked any worse. This has been just a train wreck from the beginning. Bobby Lashley's going to win the match. Going with the odds makers there. The Bludgeon Brothers versus the Good Brothers. I don't know why we call them the Good Brothers. They were the club. Just leave them the club. We don't have to change their name. Just call them Gallows and Anderson. I don't know why we got to do all this fancy stuff. SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. Bludgeon Brothers a minus 750 favorite. Gallows and Anderson a plus 450 underdog. The Bludgeon Brothers are going to retain here, and they're going to retain for one basic reason. They have to. So they can beat everybody that's in the division convincingly, and the only people left for them to face are going to be Sanity when they finally come up to the main roster, and Sanity will face the Bludgeon Brothers at SummerSlam. That's my prediction, but the Bludgeon Brothers retain at Money in the Bank. Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal, the most lopsided odds on the night. Roman Reigns, the minus 1,350 favorite, meaning you got to bet $1,350 to win $100. Versus Jinder Mahal, who is a plus 650 underdog. This is a no-brainer. So here's what I'm going to give you here. If they are booking it, Roman Reigns is going to win. Let's get that off the table right away. Roman Reigns will win tomorrow night. However, Jinder Mahal should win. And if I was booking this, Jinder Mahal would win. My official prediction is Roman Reigns, but Jinder Mahal should win this match. Because Roman Reigns belongs nowhere near the World Championship or the Universal title. And unfortunately, they're going to shove him in there anyways. For the SmackDown Women's Championship, Carmella, the plus 160 underdog versus Asuka's minus 210 favorite. This one bothers me a little bit. I'm not sure where to go with this, but what I think is one of two things. Either the odds makers have it wrong and Carmella retains because of interference by James Ellsworth. So I'm actually going to give you two predictions for this match. Carmella retains because of James Ellsworth, and I go against the odds makers. Or Carmella loses to Asuka because of James Ellsworth's interference because he's turning on her for turning on him last year. Either way, Ellsworth, I think, gets involved in this match and causes the loss for someone. The WWE Raw Women's Championship, Nia Jax, the plus 400 underdog to Ronda Rousey's minus 600 favorite. This match, I think, is the betting odds are misleading. People look at this as new champion. Not happening. Ronda Rousey will win the match, but not the title. Natalya, I believe, will get involved in some way and cost Ronda Rousey the championship. Maybe she attacks Nia Jax, whatever it is, somehow, or maybe Stephanie McMahon gets involved because there's conversations about that. But one way or another, I don't believe they put the championship on Ronda Rousey yet. Having no singles matches on television, one tag team match at WrestleMania, it's kind of BS that she's getting a title shot to begin with. And if you give her the title in her first match, a little hokey, a little ridiculous. AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, last man standing match for the WWE Championship. AJ Styles, the odds this week shifted dramatically. Earlier in the week, AJ Styles was a minus 150 favorite to Shinsuke Nakamura's plus 120 underdog. That is no longer the case. AJ Styles, the plus 105 underdog to Shinsuke Nakamura's minus 145 favorite. They are favoring Nakamura to win the championship. Here's what they have to do. Give Nakamura the championship. If not, his main roster debut is garbage. He's done nothing to this point that mattered. This is where you finally have to get your payoff with Nakamura. Allow him to defeat AJ Styles. Now, the rumor is that the end of the match was going to see AJ Styles get hit in a low blow, and he was going to hit one on Nakamura. They were both going to be on the ground, and then AJ Styles was going to whip a cup out of his jock and act like he didn't actually get hurt, and he was going to retain. I think they do the exact same thing, but Nakamura is the one who pulls it off. And I think Nakamura should and will win the WWE Championship at Money in the Bank. So, we're down to the 2 Money in the Bank matches. The women's Money in the Bank. The favorite to win right now, Natalya, plus 150. Alexa Bliss, plus 210. Charlotte, plus 405. Sasha Banks, plus 500. Becky Lynch, plus 900. Lana, plus 1100. Ember Moon, plus 1100. And Naomi, plus 3000. I don't see them pulling a schmaz here and giving it to Naomi. I think that would be ludicrous. I also would not want to see them give it to Natalya. I really don't. I think in the end they probably are considering that strongly so that she can have a program with Rousey if they decide to give Rousey the title. If Rousey has her match after the Women's Money in the Bank match that night, what I could see them doing is if Rousey wins the championship, Natalya wins the Women's Money in the Bank earlier in the evening, comes out to celebrate with Ronda Rousey, and as they're celebrating, waffles her from behind with the Money in the Bank briefcase, beats her down, cashes in, and Natalya takes the title from Rousey immediately, leading to a match at SummerSlam with Rousey as a rematch where she'll regain the championship. Or maybe they make it a 3-way triple threat type of thing at SummerSlam, Natalya, Rousey, and because she didn't get a rematch, giving a rematch to Nia Jax. But going to have to watch and see. I think that actually is the most plausible answer. And I would have said Charlotte Flair, except she does have the surgery coming up, and I don't think they want to give the Money in the Bank in a premium spot to someone who's going to be out for 6 weeks. So my prediction is yes, we will see Natalya win the Money in the Bank early in the show so she can cash in later. And the men's Money in the Bank. This has been announced for weeks now. The odds-on favorite to win is The Miz. He's a minus 135. I think he does win. He's going to win this thing. He's going to take the championship from somebody. I don't know who. I don't know if it'll be AJ Styles or Shinsuke Nakamura, but he'll take the title from somebody. He'll lose it to Daniel Bryan, probably at the Royal Rumble, and in the Royal Rumble, AJ Styles will win and challenge Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. That's my fantasy booking. I also think The Miz wins. Braun Strowman is a plus 350. He's the second place odds maker. Samoa Joe plus 470. Kevin Owens plus 725. Finn Balor plus 725. Rusev plus 725. And Bobby Roode plus 2500. Now, the person who's not listed there is whoever represents the New Day in the match, which I believe is going to be Big E. And I think Big E has no chance of winning the match, but I don't think he has to. I think he just has to look strong in the match for people to buy into him being a legitimate contender. I think that's what WWE is looking to do. So we'll have to keep our eyes on that, see how things turn out. But in the end, I think that's where they're headed. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode. We'll run down the results, everything going on in the news and rumor section of the world of wrestling. Special thanks as always go out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing all the music and sound effects that we use in our shows. Today's podcast sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this new game from Beazle Games by going to frowrestling.com and clicking the icon in the middle of the screen to pick up your copy today. And alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college, university life, you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our other website, www.frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you so much for taking a few moments with us tonight. If you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, go to www.tsj101sports.com for the latest articles on the world of professional wrestling, or go to frowrestling.com and click on In Fro's Corner for my latest editorial pieces. Don't forget that WWE New Japan article coming out soon. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night.